Oh, goody.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Zombies here again. And today we're back with another Marvel Snap video. So it's been quite a while since I've done a deck feature video, but I had a lot of fun climbing on day one and getting to Infinite this season with the new cards, so I figured I'd do a quick little deck overview of the two decks I used to get day one Infinite, which placed me in the top 10. And they were both really fun decks. So both of these are using Iron Patriot. However, I will say that I think the core of these decks is generally pretty strong with or without it, particularly the second deck. I think the first one probably leans on it a little bit harder, but the second deck is really just kind of a reinvention of a deck I made back when Anti-Venom first came out, that we were able to slightly tweak with the new edition of the Season Pass. I think the first one is generally going to be the one a lot more players are interested in because it brings back Devil, Dinosaur, and a bunch of the shield cards, Quinjet, Coulson, Maria Hill. Just a really fun deck all around, getting to use these cards somewhere outside of Arsham, which has kind of been the only home for a lot of them for a while now. So how does this deck play out? Basically, we are a curve out deck. If you're familiar with the old Loki-less Loki style of deck, that is what this is trying to do. I experimented with a few different versions. We had Mockingbird in here at one point, but I ended up finding out that Speed was just kind of a better Mockingbird because you could play it out on turn 3, you can follow up the Iron Patriot with it, and it was often getting to a similar size. Because due to the low curve of the deck and all the card generation you have, you're often spending all your energy every single turn, so speed gets rather large. We have a ton of ways to generate cards to hand here. Maria Hill, Snowguard, Kate Bishop, Agent Coulson, and Frigga. So lots of ways to get extra stuff in hand. Frigga's been particularly interesting in this deck because there are a lot of great copy targets. Most notable ones that have stuck out to me are things like Hydra Bob, copying a reduced card off of the Iron Patriot, which will allow you to keep that reduced cost on the card, or just a high value target like Victoria Hand, who ends up buffing her own copy, so the copy ends up being a 2/7, or just a Rocket and Groot or Speed who get fairly large on their own. This deck definitely has a bit of unpredictability to it, with the random generation here that you can use to your advantage, whether that be from Iron Patriot or any of our other card generations. And Snowguard's been nice here as well. Having that little bit of location control definitely clutched up some games. I've seen differing takes on whether or not Dino is worth it for this archetype, but at least in my experience with it, the Dino is really big really often. And if you have a location that ends up letting you cheat it out earlier via some bonus energy or cost reduction, it's another really good frigate target in the times that happens. The other nice thing about this deck is I think there are generally budget replacements for some of these Series 5 cards here. I think we have a lot of options to choose from in terms of powerful, good 3-drops. So if you're missing Rocket and Groot or Speed or Frigga, I think there are a lot of other things you can consider in that spot. You just want to have a similar curve, and you want to be playing stuff that, generally speaking, works pretty well with trying to fight for that Iron Patriot lane. One card I think is really good right now, we're going to see a uptick in popularity on, is Mobius, who made it into the second deck here. Mobius is just really great right now. A lot of people are doing cost reduction stuff, whether that be Iron Patriot, Quinjet, Anti-Venom, the list goes on. But Mobius just says no to that, and it's really nice because instead of having to actually really fight against a opposing Iron Patriot lane on turn 3, you can just play the Mobius and say, well, you're not going to get that big amount of cost reduction. And I think that's a big reason I ended up liking the second deck here, the Pixie Mobius kind of deck. I used the Dino deck to get from 70 to 90, and then I used this one to close it out in the 90s to Infinite. Like I said before, this is a deck I made way back when Anti-Venom came out. It did really good around then, so I figured why not just jam in Iron Patriot, replace the Alioth with Gore, because Gore is a MVP right now. Gore just gets absolutely humongous because there are so many people playing a bunch of on-reveal stuff like we see in the first list, trying to get some value out of things like Victoria Hand and Iron Patriot. And it's worth noting that this list doesn't necessarily need Iron Patriot. If you're a free-to-play player who doesn't have the pass, I think much of the strength of this list is not actually based in Iron Patriot. It just so happens that it's a decent 2-drop that helps fill out your curve, which can give you some high roll potential. But the core of what makes the deck strong is just having these massive high rolls off of your Pixie flips, using Anti-Venom to get really good value off another higher cost card, Luke Cage really helps you out with the Affliction matchup as long as you are being careful to dodge Red Guardian. So if you don't have Iron Patriot, but you still want to play the second deck, I think something like Kate Bishop or just another good on reveal 2-drop or 1-drop here would be a good way to go in terms of replacement. That said, if you do have it, I would recommend running it because sometimes Iron Patriot just free rolls the game. So it's not a bad option to have in a deck like this, which is very high roll centric. You do want to play this a little bit like a combo deck like Mr. Negative. There will be some times where you draw the full upper cost of your deck in the early turns and you're not really doing a whole lot when that happens. But in the games where you get your early Pixie, you get your Nico draw to, maybe you get Iron Patriot into a good follow-up. As long as you snap aggressively in those games, I find this deck performs very well. Copycat also has so many good targets right now. People are running a lot of really just high value stuff to copy, so definitely would recommend running that as a generically good 3-drop right now. As I said earlier, Gore gets massively large because so many on reveals are being played right now, and he gives Anti-Venom a bit more upside than we previously had in this deck with Eliath. Because if we don't have our Luke Cage, Gore is still a absolutely massive hit off of Anti-Venom because he doesn't care about being set to 0. That's actually a 1 power buff for him. And Lady D, another one here where there are just so many good things for Lady D to eat up right now. Victoria Hands, Luke Cages, Quinjets. There's just so many things where Lady D can just completely flip a lane. And she's one of those cards your opponents are often not going to see coming. So yeah, those are the decks. I hope you enjoy them. I had a lot of fun playing them. Iron Patriot looking a bit OP, but I am curious to see how the meta is going to adapt to try and counter this card. And I think Mobius is definitely going to be a big part of that. All of the codes linked in the description if you want to import these decks to try out in the game for yourself. I'd love to hear what's been working for you on the first day of the season so far and what you're thinking of the new cards. That's going to wrap it up for this one, though. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.